Hey guys, it's Chris Hussein back from CNH Small Engine again. I'm giving a review of a update from my one Yugo SKS. I put the new updated Murray's firing pin, the spring-loaded firing pin in it, and I took it to range. I shot about 100 rounds through it. Then the things seem to be functioning perfectly fine. Ford on there, so I'm just going to give you a review of what the firing pin actually looks like on these Yugos, because they make about two or three different types, I believe, on Murray's website, because they have one for the pre 51 and the after 51, and they also make the one that's a general fit for the Chinese and the Yugo ones as well too. This one right here I got in front of me right here is the one for the after, or I should say post 1951 Russian, Chinese, Yugoslavian, and the other types out there. Basically, this is what it looks like right there. It has the spring right here for the, basically fits over the top of the firing pin head right here, and that fits up inside there, and that slides up and down. So whenever it's up inside the hole for the firing pin, it's going up and down there like so. So it spring loads and it pops right back and doesn't stick in the fired position right there. The Murray ones, you can tell by they have the US, says USA stamped like right on the flat part right there too. This one right here is a 2012. I'm going to show you what mine looks like, because they do have slight variance between these ones he made. This one has a smaller head on the end right here. You can see that it's a slightly smaller tapered head. With the one I have in my gun, it's shaped. It's basically shaped like a condom end on right there. It's like a U-shaped, horseshoe shaped. Where this one is slightly bent. It goes up and it's tapered from the part right down, and then it's slightly tapered right at the end right there for that. I don't know if it makes any difference, but I personally like the one I have in my gun instead. So I'm gonna show you what mine looks like in here right now. Take this thing apart and show you what I got in here. And here's mine right here. Mine has a slight head variance in the back, when you can see right here as well too, where the newer, I think 2012 production ones, they are slightly tapered on there as well too. You can see that right there. Mine run right here is completely flat. You can see right here it's completely flat, where the newer ones have a slightly different angular head on the back. Where there's it's almost like a I'm gonna call it not an octahedron. It's like almost like a trapezoid shape right there for that. And the one I have in my gun right now is basically flat on the top, and it's round on the back right there for that. So, and mine, let me flip it around. You can see the front end. There's my front of the bolt head assembly right there for it, and there's a firing pin sticking right there just like that. My firing pin, you can see right here. I'm gonna get a better close-up zoom in on this thing here for you. You can see how it sticks out right there, like so. It wobbles around in a hole just a teeny bit right there. You can probably barely make it out, but you can probably definitely see it. Mine, it's completely rounded on the end, which means it looks like a horseshoe shape, as opposed to the newer 2012 ones like this one. They have a slight angular part right at the end of the firing pin, or you can probably barely see it. Where mine, it's basically completely round on the end right there, so you can basically see it right there. It's rounded. Let me get a better picture here. Here we go. It's rounded at the end right there, so I think mine works probably better on her for that, because I have my original Chinese firing pin in there, and I started getting problems like I was seeing bits of primer actually down inside the milled receiver down the gun right here. There's little pieces of flakes of the primer. I don't know, it must have got down inside there. And also on the firing pin head right here, it was getting all carboned up with a bunch of carbon on here too, which means it was probably going too deep into the primer itself on there. So that's another thing you gotta check whenever you have an SKS, especially the Yugo ones. You gotta make sure the firing pin is protruding so far from the head on her, because it should only be popping out. I think about 20 about like 0.20 or something like that, 0.5, somewhere around it. It's going to be between 0.2 and I think about 0.5. sticking out of the head. Let me show you what I'm talking about right here. That's about as far as it should stick out right there. If you can see that right there, let me bring it back here a little bit more. Right about there, you can see it just barely sticking out of the head right there. That's about how far they should go right into the primer, where my free-floating firing pin, it was sticking out about 2 to 3 times more than that, and it basically locked up on me from whenever last time I was firing it, probably about a month ago, and I made a previous video. The firing pin got stuck in the non-fire position as it is right now. It was basically stuck right there, and it actually damaged, or I should say it scalloped your firing pin retainer area right here. You get this little firing pin retainer area right here, and it was basically scalped that right there, and it basically broke it almost completely off. So apparently some of the gas was being shot back at the bolt face right here, as opposed to be having all the gas coming straight out and going up through the gases and going out the end of the barrel. What happens with mine was it was popping the primer too deep, and some of that gas was being propelled back towards the bolt face, and it should not happen like that. That's why I had carbon. I had a lot of carbon build up down inside the receiver right here. You can see some spots right here. It's like a little bit light gray, and there's some carbon spots right down inside here as well too. You can probably can't barely make it out, but there's some carbon spots right down here. I'm just gonna wipe up my finger here and get some off. You can see there's some right there, and the other side might have a little bit of carbon buildup too down there too. But your firing pin should not go really deep into the primer on there, because if it does do that, you'll either have it blow back onto the bolt and cause damage because of that, as it did to mine right there for that. So your firing pin should only stick out probably about that much right there. It should not stick out any more than basically what I have right there, because like I said before, I did an update and I took this up the range and I shot it about 100 times with it like that, and there's no carbon buildup on the channel inside there. There's no carbon buildup on the firing pin itself. It's basically carbon free. It has a little bit of carbon around the area here on the outside, like typical carbon buildup sometimes. And down inside the receiver, there's no carbon buildup at all for that. So if you ask me, that's probably the best thing you can do with these Yugo ones, because I think it's I read online the Yugo's metal is not as good as the Russian ones or the Chinese ones out there. I don't know if it's heat treated, not as good, but that's one of the reasons, or people get volcanoing around your firing pin hole channel right there for that. You can see it. It starts getting a little raised edge right around the lip right down there where the firing pin comes out. You can see the firing pin up and down right there for that, and you get a little bit of raised chamfering around there, and because of that, it can start cutting into the primer and possibly cause a pop primer issue right there as well too. But as of right now, I'm satisfied with how it works, so I'm probably gonna take it up in my cabin here sometime this year and just test it out more thoroughly up there. Take it back to range, test it a few more times, just be on a safe side. It's functioning okay. And your firing pin should only protrude probably about that much right there. You can see it. It's only sticking out maybe about an eighth of an inch right there, maybe a 16th of an inch. That's about it. Just like that right there for that. So that's basically a demonstration of how far it should be sticking out of the firing pin or the bolt head, so you don't have any problems. If anybody has any questions, comments, whatnot, again, just give me a call back here. You know my phone number, or simply leave me a message on my page and I will be able to answer any questions you may have about your gun. I'll see you guys.